everyone, and welcome to
The Movie House.
We're going to talk to you about the first three Rocky movies made between 1976 and 1983. Rocky, Rocky II, and Rocky III. We watched those recently in pretty close succession after not having seen them for a while. And it's an interesting progression that the character goes through these three movies. The first Rocky, of course, won at least a couple Oscars. And the other two did not get awarded as highly. And there's a difference of opinion about which one's the best. But clearly, in my view, Rocky is a classic and is the best, as often is the case, because it's the original story. It was a hard-knock tale behind the scenes as well as on screen. And it stands above all the rest. But the other two are pretty good as well, don't you think?
Yes. But I think I prefer Rocky. Like you said, usually the original movie is the best movie. But these were decent sequels, good stories, good continuation of the Rocky Balboa story. And so that's always nice because that doesn't always happen. As we know, there's a lot of good movies that the sequels just don't cut it. And what's nice is they're all good as a standalone movie too. You don't need to watch Rocky 2, and you don't need to watch the first two to watch the third one. So that's nice as well because it can just be the character's history.
Yeah, and the two sequels, they both start out with the end of the movie previous to it. So it kind of catches you up right from the start. Mm-hmm. Rocky 2 starts with the end of the first fight, and Rocky 3 begins with the end of the first fight, and Rocky 3 begins with the end of the second fight.
Right. Yeah, so again, they act as standalone movies as well as a successional movie. So I think that's well done. Usually that doesn't happen very well or done very well. But I would say that the first Rocky is the most intriguing of the movies. Probably because, like you said, the style's a little bit different. They had little money, right. Very little money. And it's interesting if you watch the background stories, which we like very much to understand, and then that makes a lot of money. But then usually the next couple movies, they have more money, so it's not as hungry, right? Like the first one, it's like the Star Wars. The first three Star Wars are awesome because they really didn't use a lot of money for them. And the other stories have tons of money, tons of technology at their disposal, and they're nowhere near the quality, the content of the original three.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter necessarily how much money you have and have advantage to everything. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come up with a really good movie.
Right. And Stallone is really good in all three movies. Mm-hmm. He was nominated and won for Best Screenplay because he wrote the screenplay for Rocky, as well as the rest of the movies, as I understand it. And he was actually nominated for his acting as well in Rocky, which the studio didn't want him to play the part. They wanted the story, and they wanted to pay him like $350,000, which in 1975 or 76 was a lot of money, and he was broke.
Yes.
He had to sell his dog,
yes.
Brutus, or Butkus.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't afford to feed him anymore. And they offered him all this money, and he refused to take it because he wanted to play Rocky in the movie. And finally, they agreed to let him play the part, gave him less money.
And how much did he have to, I love the story, how much he had to spend to get his dog back.
Yeah, he sold his dog for like $25, and it cost him like $1,500 to get him back. But he got him back, and that's why he's in the movie.
Yeah. And I think that's a great story to show about how much Sylvester Stallone wanted to make this movie and make it his own. Because as we know, a lot of times, unfortunately, when you take your personal hands off your baby, what the industry does to it turns a lot of times into something that was never your intention.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he stuck to his guns.
Right.
And did without to make the movie he wanted.
Right.
So that's great, and that's why it's such a good movie.
Yeah, and it's a great story, and it's a great movie. Yeah, everybody in it is just excellent. Talia Shire as Adrian, Burt Young as
Is that Polly?
Polly,
Polly,
right.
and of course, Burgess Meredith.
Right.
Save it for the sequel.
So and again, and he Stallone directed Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, as well as wrote the screenplay. So he had a lot more control over everything. And like you said, he had a lot more money to spend because Rocky did so well financially as well as critically. And they're not as good, but they're very good. A lot of people like the second movie better than the first movie. I like the third movie because it's got Mr. T in it. Who Mr. T is awesome, and he's a beast in this thing. And you believe every minute that he wants that title and he's going to get it from Balboa. And the fights are very well choreographed and look very, very good, even all these years later. They're all really, really good stories. And to see Rocky's life change from one movie to the next is a really interesting journey to go on.
But he's still himself. See, that's what I like too. He's still himself. Adrian's still herself. Polly is still himself. But you see, because not everybody just changes instantly.
Right.
Even when it's rags to riches, that doesn't mean that they necessarily lose their soul. And I like how Rocky and Adrian do not lose their soul, even though their lives have changed in such an unexpected, fabulous way. And I also want to put a plug in for Apollo Creed, because if it wasn't for Apollo Creed, nobody would know there was Rocky. So he's the one who finds him he's nobody. Rocky's, and if it wasn't for Apollo Creed, I'm not sure who the man is who plays him.
Carl Weathers.
Yes, he's great.
Yeah.
He's great. And he's in the next couple movies too, which is great.
Yes. Yeah. So exactly. So you see
the same.
You see Rocky, Adrian, Polly. What's the manager's name? I forget. Burgess Meredith's character and Apollo Creed. You see them in all three of these movies, and you see them. Like I said, they're all characters are essentially consistent, but they do grow as well from story to story. Yeah, which is really, really well done. Of course, Sylvester Stallone wrote the screenplays for these, and he was in charge of all that, and did a really good job. In giving them arcs and journeys for all of these, even the more minor characters.
Yes, and that's great. Again, that's very hard to do, and especially I don't know the time frame between each movie. I don't know if it was 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but we've seen over and over again so many sequels, and we want to ask the directors and the producers and the writers, did you not watch the first movie?
Right.
It's like you've got the raw material, you've got the genesis. How in the world do you get away from that?
Right.
So I like it that these three movies are very consistent in the style, they're consistent in the characters, they're consistent in the storylines. Even though there's more money involved, more technology involved, it's still very, very well done.
Yes, and the challenges are different.
Yes, it's not the same movie.
They're similar, but they're different.
Yeah.
And that really, again, it compels you. It pulls you in, and you're like, well, how is Rocky gonna deal with this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed all three Rocky movies.
Me too. Okay. Well, that's it for us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.